So over 20 years ago, the world was introduced to one of the weirdest ways to save the world.
Card games on motor!
Past the 2 decades, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been a fickle series. Between the card games, the anime, the manga, and all the little trinkets that have been appearing in the little globe we call Earth, we're introduced to the 5 generations of cards being used to beat up the bad guys and talking about various concepts. From something simple like friendship to more serious issues like class systems, to the previous season taking a step into identity issues. Yu-Gi-Oh! Certainly likes to dip its toes into various themes about the time. Even the weakest series, Zexal, with all its flaws, has one of the most annoying main characters in anime history, has a little bit of a charm to it. Mostly in the Variant story arc, introducing us to one of the more popular villains in Yu-Gi-Oh! History, Vector. So enter the latest series, Yugioh Vrains.
And they called it Vrains. I don't even think that's a word.
We've reached a point in time where more and more of our everyday lives are spent in the digital world. Even at this moment, while you're watching this video, you're contributing to that notion. After all, you're spending your precious minutes watching a video about an anime that takes place in the digital world where card games are used to solve issues being discussed about by a robot who you wish you could peg down with crowbars every few minutes. Don't get me wrong, I do appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch my humble little videos, even though I'm a hipster who likes to wear skinny jeans and tight shirts. Still, the fact that we spend so much time on the online world is kind of reflected in this very own show. Albeit it's a bit more futuristic, of course, but then again, nothing wrong with bending a little bit of reality in the worlds of animation. When compared to its predecessors, Vrains stands at a very unique crossroads, both in terms of plot and execution. Throughout the entirety of the first episode, we're given nothing but world building, which on paper may seem like a bad idea, but at least sets a foundation for the viewers. For example, at the beginning of the episode, we're shown the scene where these mysterious digital figures are being captured and saved by the black and purple version of them, who goes by the name of Ignis. And within the first few minutes, we're shown...
Definitely having nightmares tonight.
Ugh. Well, he's seen better days. Yeah, tell me about it. Contrary to what people think, Yu-Gi-Oh! Does have a history with death and destruction. Hell, 5Ds had a scene of a man getting hung to death by a spider web, but most of the time, opening episodes of the series don't usually open up with a character being ripped to shreds by a dragon chomping down on them, at least in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise. The opening act will appeal just by the first episode.
It's the most selfish, egotistical thing I've ever heard.
I feel like you're just making a pot shot right now. Although we were given a lot of information about the world, there are still quite a few questions about Vrains, like how does the digital world affect the real world? We learn more about Den City, which we only get one mention of the name of the city throughout the episode. Yusaku Fujiki. We're also introduced to another character, Naoki Shima, who looks like... I honestly can't be the only one who sees that, can I? Oh, that's so painful! Right, whatever. Back to our main character, this scene has inspired a few theories about Yusaku, one of which is that our main character, Yusaku, is autistic, in comparison to, say, Yusei, who also had a more stoic personality, but didn't bluntly insult people like Yusaku did, especially to someone who was trying to be friendly with him in an open conversation. Of course, there's other things that have led people to think that Yusaku is autistic, how he goes with the counting off character tech that he shows twice in the episode. Granted, it's just a theory that floated around a few Reddit posts, but I think it's an interesting thing to consider, since one of the other main protagonists in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise, Yugi was the original and set the standard, Yurei was a slacker yet had a joyful nature before he went emo, Yusei had a stoic and deeply cared for the bonds of friends that he created, Yuma was... I'm
about to high-five the sky!
Well, screw Yuma, he was just annoying as all hell. And Yuya, well, he had quite a few issues with dealing with identity. Yusaku, on the other hand, he's a bit of an enigma, at least in comparison to the other protagonists. He doesn't have the same kind of charisma as of them. And it doesn't help that he has a variant of the most cliched trope you can have for our main character, the forgotten past. Now, when it comes to cliches in writing, or as I prefer to refer them as tropes, there's a right and a wrong way to do these sorts of things. Tropes are portions of writing, and unlike a lot of people who like to consider them as sins, wink wink nudge nudge, just because a story has cliches, that doesn't actually mean it's a detriment to the overall story. It's a small motivation, but it doesn't get in the way of him attempting to get revenge, and he's not just doing it for his sake, but for a friend of his whose brother also had their past taken away. And in fact, due to his quick thinking, Yusaku was able to get an edge over the villains of the series and is proactive in attempting to figure out who it was who stole his past, followed by whatever leads he has to catch Ignis as well as use him as bait. It's still annoying! I detect a bias. We had Atom/Yami, Judai had Yubel and Professor Daikochi, Yuma had Astral, and Yuya eventually got Yuto floating inside of him like a ghost. Up until this point, the alter spirit often acted as a support and had the upper hand, giving it support or another, or in the case of Yugi, actually took over the role and actually won every victory that's been credited to Yugi. But with Yusaku and Ignis, it's almost the complete opposite. It's at this point I had pretty much forgotten that I was watching an anime that was about people defeating evil by shuffling, drawing, and playing cards. and that's actually a pretty good thing. While I would be lying if I say I wasn't disappointed that there wasn't an actual duel in the episode, I simply adore the lore that's being made in this episode, and to be fair, I actually see this as a breath of fresh air for the series. The digital world, Blue Angel. Yet we can see in the opening that while her online persona is cheerful and kind, we can see that her regular self doesn't hold the same trait. Perhaps this means that Aoi has two faces, which can be a means of commentary towards the landscape of our internet idols. After all, people will put on a second face when they're in front of an audience, even to the point where your face to see on YouTube screen is nothing more than a person who uploaded it. I think you're reading way too much into the opening. Why don't you talk about the opening itself, the song, the symbolism? Because this video is already on the borders of getting copyright struck and I have no interest in losing it after so much work. What work? Okay, why are you even here? Don't you get it? Apparently not. You're a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh, but in terms of anime, this happens to be the most of the basic anime. You're just riding the wind of this series, trying to get your own opinion out there, and... Regardless of my bias, Vrains does have potential. Everything has potential. Now that we've been introduced to the world of Vrains and seen the characters and motivations, we're given a peek of what the series may hold. To succeed, there's no guarantee. I mean, Arc 5 had a very good running start, especially with its characters, but I don't know, I mean, at the end it kind of just degraded. But with this breath of fresh air, and having such a stark contrast to the previous series, it does come off as a good sign for me. Will this hold true in the future? I don't know. I'm just gonna watch it and I think it might be fun. I'm TrashKamen, and remember to examine your fandom. Hey guys, Ignis here. Just want to give a little shout out to our patrons right here, and if you want to support the show, please feel free to follow the link right after I'm done talking. Bye! And thanks for watching!
From starry to solar, we're running all over. We travel the speed of light and beyond. Our future is loading, the doorway is showing what we want. When you're in the Vrains, you can't be guessing about. No matter what remains, all of the circuitries connecting where we route. It hooks us up to break a new bound. Now access your strength to brave the day.